How's it going?
Hey, man.
How are you?
I was just about to email you.
Oh, nice.
What's up, dude?
Chilling. It's still a good time?
Yeah, it's fantastic time. I wish I could have got a little more of a nap in, but I've been going since 8 a.m., but I'm
Holy
good.
crap. Do you work today?
Yeah, I work. Sometimes I work almost every Saturday, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's going on? I got some ideas. I want to hear yours first, man. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Well, I mean, I think one thing I wanted to talk about actually was related to training. We touched on it when we talked on the phone, and related to like the fad training and the fad diets that we see come and go, and talking about, because a lot of people think if you're either against it or you're for it, and I kind of want to come in and say, hey, look, some of them work, but they're not sustainable for a long period of time, or they do more damage than good. I mean, the one goal, which is might be fat loss, is achieved, but then
Usually the goal for a lot of people.
Right? Exactly. Which is usually the goal, right? So people want the fat loss, they get the fat loss, but then they're super unhealthy everywhere else, right? So a lot of people don't realize that it's not just about that goal. To what expense, right? So I wanted to kind of pick your brain on those pieces and touch on a few of those. Because you either hear people saying, no, don't do them, they don't work. And then the trouble with saying they don't work is that when people do them and get results, they think that that person was BSing. Well, yeah, it does work. You're against it. Well, that's not necessarily the situation. It might work, but what's it messing up?
Or for a period of time because they're shocking the body with it and everything. So
yes.
let me say this. I'm recording this. You cool with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Sure. So we're starting now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we actually started right away, so whatever.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's
all good. We do it.
Sweet.
I
have to fix my hair, so I'm okay.
Yeah. So I got a lot to say about this because, I've been doing this since college. So we're talking 80s. And so we got 80, 90, the millennium teens. I mean, I'm like in my fourth, fifth decade, right?
Yep.
And I tweaked I'm going to say one thing. I tweaked my shoulder end of February after I fell on the ice when we had that freeze storm here. We talked about that, I think, a little bit in February. Yes. When I tweaked it. And so what I'm saying is I've had a lot of injuries. So I've trained a lot. I had a lot of sports injuries, a lot of martial arts injuries, some weight training injuries, but that's mostly just like tweaking joints because you're lifting too heavy and crap back in the day. So
yes,
I want to start with like the fads and the myths and the things that you said with all of those decades and all of the training.
Doing the healthy version. Sorry, you're doing the healthy version.
What do you got?
You pick up I got a monster. It's not as good as you.
Oh, it's horrible. What are you doing?
I know.
Try these. I don't know if you have them. Are you still in the country? You still in Canada?
Yeah, I am, but we do have those. They're just starting to get popular now. I'm starting to see them more often.
Oh my gosh, dude, I love them. And they don't smash.
Those are the best.
Half.
All natural, right?
And they're like 100 milligrams. And they're not even paying us for this. Maybe they will.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they will after this takes off for sure. But next time we're on here, I'll make sure I match your natural vibe because this is not good.
A couple freaking copies of it. All right, so
Sweet.
With all those decades and some of the things that we talked about before, let's just go back to raw basics. Some people, they just, with all the information coming out, they just don't think logically. Okay.
Right.
So logical is this: protein, carbs, and fats. If you're going to be in fitness and you want to learn about nutrition, I'm sorry, but you have to do the work. You have to do the research. You have to read something.
That's right.
You can't just rely on YouTube videos and stuff. Do your own thing. Think for yourself, number one. Then take what you know and take it to someone else who's been in the game for a while, right? So what's a protein? What's a carb? What's a fat? Please learn that. Then we said we start talking about supplementation. That's when it gets really kind of scientific and artsy-fartsy, and you got to really learn what CoQ10 does and certain creatines do and what enzymes do and essential fatty acids and all those other things that are manufactured. What's good? What's bad? What works? What doesn't? Because look, let's face it. We're living in an age, not only is certain information oppressed and suppressed, which I think is going to come out in the next 10 years, is going to be amazing. We'll talk about that. Number two, information that is already out that actually works. Supplements are more powerful now than they've ever been. So you got to make sure, because there's some powerful stuff out there that's not good for you, and there's powerful stuff out there that is good for you.
That's right.
So
That's
we can
right.
touch on that a little bit. So
Yes.
back to protein, carb, and fat. Okay, what are proteins? Proteins are building blocks. These are things that make your body build and repair and recover. Carbohydrates are energy sources. There are carbohydrates that spike insulin, which we'll talk about a lot if we want, and there's carbohydrates that do not spike insulin. They do not work the same.
No.
Okay. And then we have fats. There are essential fats and there's bad fats.
Mhm.
What are essential? Fats that your body needs that you do not make.
Right.
What are essential proteins or amino acids? Amino acids that your body needs that it does not make.
Mhm.
What's amazing about carbohydrates is they're not essential.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
so now we have a platform or a foundation of what that is. And when we talked about getting lean and increasing fat loss, we talked a lot about insulin. We talked a lot about carbohydrates and the role of insulin.
Mhm.
So I tell you, dude, like 9 out of 10, 10 conversations always go here.
Yeah.
Because people, they, first of all, like when I tell them about carb depletion, they immediately start to frown, or they've tried it before and they don't know how to do it.
Right.
And they're like, this just sucks. I love sugar. I love chocolate cupcakes more than anybody, dude.
Mhm.
I just know when to have them.
Yes.
And I don't make a freaking habit out of it.
Right.
Okay. So knowing when to spike insulin, when not. So let's just take this. You looked at some of my videos. I've looked at other things online. This has never failed me since the 80s. And when you get away from carbohydrates, like we talked about for 2 or 3 days, where you literally have a protein and vegetable diet, and all the vegetarians will freak out about that. And that's fine. They can do their vegetarian thing. And if it works for them, it works for them. I've done it like 4 times. It's great.
Yep.
I'm a big vegetable guy, fruit and vegetables, vegetables, especially colors of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, green, all of those colors, eat them like crazy. You can never get fat eating vegetables.
No.
Can't.
Exactly.
You could eat 1,000 calories of vegetables a day. You'll lose weight.
Yes.
Amongst the other calories that you take in on top of it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And and you've competed too, but I've trained my competitions, right until the day of. I mean, I wouldn't say till the day of. The last 2 weeks gets a little more technical, but up until the last 2 weeks, the unlimited list is unlimited green veggies. So if I'm hungry, make some green veggies, make some any green veggies.
And hold that thought too, because we'll talk about calories in a second too, because when I say calories only count in extreme measures, low or high.
You're right.
If you go low, you'll see results. When you go high, you'll see results depending on what results you're looking for. But everything else in between, the body balances out depending on metabolic rate, how you train. You could fluctuate 500 calories a day and see no fluctuation in weight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we talk about insulin and then we talk about calories and we talk about carb depleting, when I would do stuff to lose body fat, I've never counted calories. Never had to. I ate and I ate and I ate. And I trained and I was freaking hungry and the fat came off. And people are like, how?
And people, I'm sure you got it all the time too. Oh, you're a genetic freak. It's because of your genetics. And
I'm a genetic piece of crap. That's not true. I'm like 5'7" on a good day. I'm Polish. I got small wrists.
But that's what people want to say. They don't want to think about the fact that, oh, it could be, the calorie thing. He's going against the calorie thing, right? It's got to be a genetic thing. If he's eating that much and he's still losing weight, or he's on a bunch of stuff. That's it. That's the two things that they think right off the hop. It's crazy.
I hate the calorie thing. Mm-hmm. I absolutely freaking hate it. Unless again, extreme highs, extreme lows, right?
Right.
So I remember the first time I did a juice fast. So we'll talk about extreme calories real low, and then we'll come back to insulin if that's cool with you.
Yeah, for sure.
So colors of the rainbow, all different kinds, like pineapple, kale, chard, celery, cucumbers, bell peppers, all these different colors. Mm-hmm. Juicing it, one fruit, so you don't spike insulin too much, and everything else is vegetable. So I love pineapple because it really makes it taste good. Mm-hmm. And I would juice fast, like I would do 2 or 3 a day, maybe 12 ounces at a time, like 36 ounces a day, and a ton of water, no food for like 3 days. The first day, I lose like a pound, and I drop my calories like what? 2,500 probably.
Massive.
Yeah, like massive.
Yeah.
The next day, no weight loss.
And how about for protein?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
He's fasting, like juice fasting, right?
Just juice fasting. Got it. Right? Yep.
Third day, I'm down 5 pounds. Now, after that, I start getting like really hungry, and I think I've gone 4 days is the longest I've gone. I would like to try to go further, But at the time, my metabolic rate was so much higher, I just couldn't do it. Now, since it's slower and I'm older, I could probably go for an extended period of time. And if I really push through, you could probably go for weeks on end. And I've seen people do this for like 30, 40 days. You know, I've seen people do 40-day water fasts. No freaking way. No way.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but they do it. And they're fine. They get past a week and they're fine. And I'm like, how much weight did you need to lose? Because I mean, if I lose 10 pounds of pure body fat right now, I look radically different. Like, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You lost 10 pure pounds? Because you're talking like 3-4% body fat right there. I can't do it. Now, if you're like 100 pounds overweight, man, you might as well juice for 60 days. Get your blood work done, go to a doctor. I'm not saying people should do this or shouldn't do that. I shouldn't have said that. Sure. Give it a shot. If you ever have massive amounts of produce, get yourself a kick-ass juicer, and you want to lose some freaking weight, juice for a long freaking time. You're getting all the cleansing nutrients you need. You're hydrating. You're drinking water on it. You can literally not eat food for a while with all the stored fat that you have.
Yes. And not just that. I mean, the break that you're giving some of your organs that obviously if you're obese, you put your organs
off the charts.
Stuff, right? It's off the charts. So you're normalizing and resetting systems as well.
Exactly. And that's the perfect segue to go back to insulin. So when we're talking about juicing, fasting, we're talking about calories, talking about insulin, all this stuff. So without losing track, we got into juicing for a second. It was eating vegetables. Yeah, it was eating vegetables. Colors of the rainbow are absolutely freaking key for everybody's diet. Okay. What's amazing is like when you go to the produce section and you scan the aisle, just kind of squint, look at all the colors of all the produce section as you're in the grocery store, right?
Yes.
You start with a seed, you have some soil, you add water, and you add sunshine. When sunshine goes through water, what do you see?
Colors.
The rainbow, right?
Colors, yeah.
When you put a freaking pumpkin seed in the ground, it's brown probably, right? But it comes out orange.
Yes.
Cantaloupe, apple, right? All these different seeds. But when they grow in the sun, which is really the hydrogen cycle, you get all these colors. You have to look at design. You have to look at how nature works. Your body comes from the dust of the earth. How does the dust of the earth freaking work?
You're right.
That's the key. Okay.
Yes.
Now, in the process of that seed dying and then sprouting and creating whatever it's going to create, there's microorganisms in the soil. There's bacteria in the soil. Is there bacteria in our gut? Okay. So you got to look at design, look at compatibility. Now, the DNA or the genetic makeup of that seed grows what it's supposed to grow because the information is leaked out and this is what you manifest.
Right.
Now, for our genetic structure and our carbon-based frame, this body that we live in, shouldn't we probably be eating things that are genetically compatible?
Absolutely.
This is why genetically modified foods, and people are like, oh, they're not bad for you. I'm like, go.
Yeah, of course they're. Of course they are.
Are you freaking kidding me right now? Yeah. Right?
And
go ahead.
Yeah. And to mention to play on that too, here's a perfect example. And we talked about it with the energy drinks. So I like pre-workout before I go to the gym. This is a separate thing. We'll circle back.
We'll get back to that. I love it too. Yeah.
Okay. So I love it. But what I like is I stick with no artificial flavors, no artificial colors. So I keep it real clean there.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a different thing for me. But it's a difference that you feel. So something like a Monster, it's got a lot of artificial stuff in there, right? And I do get energy off this. Of course, it's an energy drink. I feel it. I do get better focus. I notice that. But what I notice is the energy I get is it's not quite right.
It's a different kind.
You got a little bit of anxiety in there. You're sweating in weird places, right? And the other thing is, you almost feel like you're high on something, and then suddenly it just goes bop. You just crash right down. Whereas something like, and I've had Guru, I've had the drink that you have there, and it's different. It's a little more sustained, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I think it's worn off.
It's smooth.
It's way smoother, way smoother. So even something simple like this, you feel it in the effects you're supposed to get. So they say increased energy. Yes, absolutely true. They're not lying to you. But compare that energy to something natural, or even having a organic brew of coffee. Compare those two. It's a totally different feeling. So, that can't be right. That alone is the red flags in your body saying, yeah, this isn't right. I'm not supposed to work like this.
And I think that's one of the best things to teach clients too, when it comes to fitness and overall health and nutrition, everything, is people have to start to read themselves, and they got to understand how they feel after they eat.
That's right.
Before training, during training, post training. I used to do seminars when I worked for Science years ago on the 3 metabolic windows, pre, during, and post workout, because it's pre-stress, stress, and post-stress.
Yes.
It just doesn't have to be working out. It could be any kind of stress, really.
Right.
And you have to learn how the adrenal function and the adrenal system works, and how the gut works, and all that. And so before we go off on a tangent on that, we'll come back to insulin and how you feel, and the sugars and all this other stuff we're talking about.
Sure.
We talk about carb depletion and fat loss because most people, hopefully, that when they see this is really going to help them out. They have to learn how to carb deplete so they're satisfied. Mm-hmm. And so I wish I had a chart. I should probably write this down, but I'll just try to label this out. The body burns carbs first. It's the way that we're designed. It's easy to do. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier for your body to break down rice than it is a piece of steak.
Yes.
But it still does it.
Yes.
Okay? One is just quicker than the other.
Right.
So certain carbohydrates are fast burners, fast digesters, the same thing.
Yep.
Proteins, meats, and stuff are slower burners. But with what we're going to explain, you can make everything fast. Doesn't matter what you're taking in.
Yeah.
It depends on the amount of it and the combination of the ratio of procarb and fat.
Yes.
Okay. So enzymatic breakdown in the gut is the key to health. How fast does your stomach turn it into chyme and dump it into your small intestine before absorption really even starts? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's called GET, or gastric emptying time. So you take in certain foods, your stomach starts to do its thing, making hydrochloric acid, pepsin, pepsinogen, all these things to convert, kill off bacteria, kill off possible parasites, kill off molds, whatever the case may be, has to be highly acidic. So acid buffers for your stomach are freaking horrible for you.
Awful. Yes.
Awful. Yeah. So the chain of command, or the sequence of what happens, is acidity in the stomach, alkalinity when it hits the small intestine. So when your stomach starts dumping out into the small intestine, which is really called your duodenum, which is covered with mucus, what happens? The liver starts squeezing out bile. The gallbladder starts squeezing bile. The pancreas starts secreting enzymes and minerals, and they're all alkalizing, taking the acid and shooting it up into the sevens. Why? So it doesn't burn the freaking lining of your intestines. Right. You see the design again?
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's made perfect.
So there's certain supplements that you can take, like betaine hydrochloric acid, that you take towards the end of your meals to help with hydrochloric acid production if you need a boost, and enzymes. They're like my favorite supplements of all.
That's what I was going to ask you next. So what are your thoughts on digestive enzymes?
Love all day. I've been taking enzymes literally nonstop since 2002 when I started having gut issues and I had a parasitic issue.
Yep.
Love them. Now there's different kinds, which let's hold that note. I'm going to start writing notes, dude, because we're going to have to.
This is awesome.
Yeah, because we're going to have to come back to this, because we're going to still get back to depleting and then we'll come back to enzymes, which will play
next time. We'll have a chart. We'll have some chart paper.
So HCl, enzymes, but we're going to come back to that. So when that starts happening and you have all this breakdown and everything, what's going on, your body's reading genetically what's in the food and how it's going to feed yourself genetically. It's all information. Everything's information. Nutrition, information, the energy frequency of those nutrients, the vibrational frequency is all the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So nutrition is nothing but information for your body, and that information carries a frequency.
Yes.
Right.
And you know what? And for those people watching, if you haven't seen your YouTube on that specifically, where you're talking about the frequency of foods, when you post this video, make sure you put a link to it, or have it pop up, because then people can click right onto it, because that was awesome. I mean, I've heard some people talk about it.
Was that the one with my guitar in it and tuning the guitar, or was it a different one?
You did it twice. The guitar one was really good. That was really good, because it's a different type of learning for other people. They can get it easier by comparing. But then there's another one where you actually had a chart as well, and you actually wrote how energy works in the body and the frequencies that they have, and how energy gets absorbed by the cell.
Sweet. Cell receptor affinity. Okay.
Yes.
I've done a lot of videos. I forget a lot of them.
Yeah, no, those were amazing. So for those people that are interested, there's more on it. But frequency of foods. Yeah.
So when we look at all this stuff, this is what people need to understand, and they don't have to get too scientific about it. But when you eat foods that are compatible to you, they're compatible to you. That's it. They're compatible.
Yes.
When you eat food and you're not paying attention to how you feel and you're bloated and you're having an issue.
Yes.
And it's usually when you're trying to carb deplete and you're learning ratios, which we'll get into in a second. We'll eventually get there. Hang on, people. We're going to get there. But when you're taking in foods that cause any kind of bloating or irritation or pain or gas or inflammatory issue, you're having some kind of allergic reaction. The allergic reaction can be scaled like almost anything. It could be a 2 on a 10 scale or full-blown celiac disease 8, 9, and 10, and it really bothers you on multiple systemic levels. Okay. So with all that said, what is a food allergy? It's not just something your body doesn't like. It's something your body can't enzymatically break down. So your body doesn't treat the food as a food. It treats it with an immune system reaction as a foreign invader.
Got it.
And the immune system then becomes inflammatory.
Got it.
Is the immune system mostly based out of the gut?
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is the design. So now you're having an inflammatory reaction instead of a digestive reaction.
And now a lot of people think, there's some people that have had those reactions and they still feel like, they look at the cost benefit. Oh, this is really healthy because I'm bringing in these types of vitamins. So as soon as you have that inflammatory response, the health factor from that food, what happens?
Zero. It's nothing but an inflammatory issue.
It's just causing you a problem.
It's not food for you. It's disease for you.
There you go.
Yeah. So anything that's going to initiate an immune system response of that caliber, that level of anxiety or that level of intensity, is basically like you're taking in poison.
It's like a poison for you.
Yeah. Even if people are allergic to apples are tremendously good for you. But if some people don't have the enzymatic reason to break them down, the capability, don't eat apples.
Don't eat apples.
Switch to another fruit. It's that simple.
Right. Exactly.
Number one food allergy. I would say the top 3 is wheat, dairy, corn.
Yes.
Dairy isn't like that. Dairy's bad. It's the fact that we lose and our enzyme systems change as we get older, and you can't break down dairy anymore. It's freaking horrible.
So as you get older, you have more of an inflammatory response to it.
Exactly, and it's not just lactose. There's like 25 known different proteins in milk that people can be allergic to.
Right.
Now, some people can do whey because it's not a full-blown protein. It's a part of protein, but really good amino acids and protein structures and polypeptides from whey, and you don't have a reaction to it. I can still do whey every now and then, but if I'm consistent with it, it doesn't work.
Can't. See, I can do whey, no problem, but I can't do casein. I can't do casein whey.
That's because that's more of a whole milk and it's a slow burner.
That one kills me.
It's not like an isolate. An isolate will just burn through like water almost.
Easy, yeah. Yeah, those casein or the nighttime proteins, right? Because I got in on that fad of, let me take this slow digesting protein, nighttime protein, right? Isn't that hilarious? So I got in on
so dumb.
So ridiculous, right? But years ago, it was like, oh, it digests slower. It's hard. And it's like, does it digest slower or is it harder for your body to digest it? Which one is it?
Yeah, right? It's both. It's both. But you know what? Have 4 ounces of red meat at dinner time or turkey.
Exactly. There's so, and I've learned a lot since then, but that was me in the past. And I remember taking this stuff and I'd wake up in the morning and I'm like, where the heck did my abs go? Bloated.
They all bloated, full of water.
Right. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, I wonder what's happening. And I kept, again, my mind looked at the marketing at the time and I wasn't as educated in the field, and I was just at the time, I was just doing what my coach was telling me to do because he was putting it in people's plans that, hey, if you agree with it, it's a protein you're taking before bed. Great. But, it wasn't agreeing with me. And I kept reading all these benefits and I'm like, well, the benefits are worth it. The benefits are worth it to the point where I was having stomach issues. I was in the washroom all the time. I was cramping in the gym. You didn't want to be working out beside me because I was probably, gassy, you know what I mean? So it wasn't good. And so eventually I brought it up to my coach and he's like, you probably have an allergy to it. The second he's like, just switch it for whey, see how you feel. Night and day. I woke up with my abs again. So just didn't work for me.
So that's the perfect segue too. So whatever people are hearing and listening to us today, trial and error, learn what works for you. Because that's a perfect example. What might work for somebody might not work for somebody else because they have the enzymatic capability to break that down and you didn't.
And I didn't. That's absolutely.
And I'll tell you right now, casein for younger people will work. Once you get past high school, I bet it doesn't. When you start getting in the 20s, because 28, I started to notice things with me.
Yeah, I was 27.
Yeah, and it was dairy, and it was wheat right after that. Wheat was a bummer because it was in everything, but I've learned to. There's a lot of good gluten-free products out there.
Finally, now
And
there
it's
is.
not the fact that I think you lose enzyme production for wheat as you get older, like you do with dairy. It's more of the way it's produced, and it's the genetic modification of the seed and the generation of seed has gone by since we've been producing it in the United States. That's the issue.
Wow.
And corn is the same way. You got to find some good organic corn because corn is a killer carb and it's a killer fiber.
Yes.
But it's been genetically modified, and that's an issue.
That's a huge issue.
And
even I've had for carb sources, I remember using quite a bit. And again, I had the bloating problem because of a corn issue. I was using waxy maize starch. So I was doing a scoop of that for my carb source, but it's not non-GMO, right? It's GMO stuff.
Yeah,
so it's affordable, right? So I'm putting in this heaping scoop of waxy maize into my essential amino acid drink that I'm working out with. And here I'm training. And then I'm finishing my workout and I feel swollen everywhere. Not a pump, like a watery, don't feel
like a watery, bloated, this ain't right type of thing.
This ain't right. Like, why can't I tie up my shoelace right now? I feel, this is ridiculous. The worst. It's the worst. I felt like, when you do a big pizza and wings and all that, that's how I was feeling after a workout. I'm like, this isn't right. So again, I made that connection to the casein, how I felt on the casein. And again, at the time I told my coach and he's like, okay, it's that waxy maize. Get rid of that thing.
So you notice that when this stuff is happening, the first thing you point to is your head. And what we're talking here right now is brain-gut connection. It's the same thing. Absolutely. This is everything for everybody.
Yes.
This is everything for you. That's the epitome of health because your immune system is the epitome of health. Controlling inflammation is the epitome of health, and it's located in your gut.
Yes, 100%.
Yep, and it's also located in your brain. All right, so with all that said, we're going to go back to insulin if we can.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so carb depleting. When people carb deplete, they don't know how to do it. So I'm going to give the quick pattern, then we'll come back and retrace it.
Yeah.
I want someone to pick 2 to 3 days, 3 preferable, 72 hours, where you eat nothing but incredible amounts of vegetables at every meal of multiple colors and pick a protein. Okay. What I would like them to do with that to make it easy is get some digestive enzymes, which we can suggest, and some really good fish oil and or coconut oil and or cook with olive oil. You got all 3 oils. Why are we increasing fats? Because you're taking away all of your insulin spiking carbohydrates and those calories drop. What's left? Protein and fat.
Protein, fats.
All right. So, but the vegetables, what we're getting is fiber, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, hopefully for organic sources. Okay. So you're getting building and cleansing product from the vegetables, and you're getting all the various antioxidants, which you're going to need, and all the various enzymes to help break down your proteins, which you're going to need. So the enzymes in vegetables will help break down your chicken, your turkey, your beefs, your ostrich, whatever you're eating.
Right.
So the protein vegetable combination is an amazing combination.
Absolutely.
If you just want to make it better, throw down some enzymes with it, but you have to get fats with it because there's no sugar.
Right.
So now your body's going, okay, since glucose was so readily available because you're always taking carb in, you shut that valve off. So now your body's like, the slower process to make glucose has to come from the protein and fat now. Because we're trying to make glucose.
Right.
But we're not using the easy form of carb.
Right.
Okay, so since we do that, we shift. Now the body is going to start making glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis, the production of glucose from other sources. When it does this, there's 2 things that happen. First thing is a person is going to start to free up fatty acids from taking away the insulin, and they're going to start losing water. So you should urinate more, and you should possibly thirsty more. You drink more water anyways. But so how does this work? So the pancreas, this is the epitome again of health. The pancreas is an interesting organ, man. There's a book I read years ago called Day 53. What is day 53? It is when the medical terminology, when you're first in gestation and conception and your body starts growing in mama's womb, they consider it a parasite.
Wow.
Foreign invader. That's the medical terminology.
Wow.
On day 53, as soon as the pancreas from cell differentiation starts to form, it's no longer a parasite.
Wow.
So what is that design with the pancreas? What does the pancreas do? It's neuroendocrine, meaning it's neurological, obviously, like everything. It's endocrine, means it's hormonal, but yet it releases digestive enzymes. So it's neuroendocrine, it's hormonal, and it's digestive in nature.
That's crazy.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it's just as important as the liver, if not even more important as the liver.
Right.
Because the liver can actually kind of like, you can get a new one.
Right. Yeah. And it regenerates.
And it regenerates. Pancreas, not so much.
Not so much.
But they both have similar capabilities. They're both involved in digestion, and the liver is even more in detoxification, but they're very important. So going back to the pancreas on day 53, when that starts to form, why? Because it starts producing its enzymes.
Okay. That's when that system starts kicking in.
Yeah, it's massive. So when we give the pancreas a rest from producing insulin, just giving it a breather, it's going to produce a different hormone called glucagon, which I learned by just saying glucose gone. You dropped your glucose, the glucose is gone, you produce glucagon. Glucagon works with various amino acids in the body, and it releases into the body to release stored fatty acids. So simple. Insulin low, releasing fatty acids higher.
Yeah.
Insulin high, fatty acids drop. A lot of that depends on calorie intake, but that's only in extreme highs or lows.
Exactly.
Especially lows.
Yes.
Okay? So insulin low, fat burning high. Insulin high, fat burning low.
That's it.
That's simple.
That's simple.
That's simple. So when we start taking in these protein carbohydrate meals, the first thing a person is going to notice is that you have to probably give it a few days if you've never done it before, and give it a few weeks on this system. You'll start to notice the speed of digestion increase.
Yeah.
Rate and speed of digestion is rate and speed of metabolic rate. Your overall just resting right now metabolic rate could be up. I remember when it starts kicking in, I'll be sitting here like that, and all of a sudden I'll break out in a sweat.
Yeah.
Yes. My body heats up. This is called thermogenesis. Thermo, heat, genesis, creation, the creation of heat.
Right.
Heat does what? It burns. What is it burning?
Fat.
Stored fat. Fat. Remember, we have stored fat genetically. We have a certain amount of fat cells. You don't make more. You just burn them and you shrink them.
Yes.
And when you shrink them, you breathe them out. And it's called the Bulls method. When you look at bulls, this is how you lose body fat. It's from the bowel. It's from the urinary system. It's from the lungs. It's from the lymphatic system and from your skin.
Wow. Wow.
That's how you release energy through those 5 pathways.
Yeah.
Bulls, Bulls, like the Chicago Bulls, right?
Yep.
So it's a good nugget for people to look that up. When you give your body, the pancreas, a rest, the reason where type 1 and type 2 diabetic situations come from is the brain, first of all, when it notices what's stress and it's reading all the organs of your body, the central nervous system, the pancreas, when it needs a rest, the brain's going to start shutting down insulin production, whether you like it or not. And if you're still taking in carbohydrate and you're dropping insulin production, what's happening? Your sugars are going up, and you're trying to force your body to make more insulin to lower glucose levels, but it's not able to do it because the brain has shut it down because it's stressed. So all that insulin, the glucose, turns into
fat,
triglycerides. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then people get their blood work done, and they're like,
yeah, this isn't right.
Cholesterol's up, or VLDLs are up, or LDLs are up. Something's up.
Wow.
Triglycerides are up because you're not burning like you need to burn. You're storing too much.
Right.
Okay. Right. So when you keep forcing that issue, and then you go to the doctor and he's like, oh, well, you're like borderline type 2, blah, blah. So then they give you a drug to punch the shit out of your freaking pancreas more.
Instead of finding out.
Instead of relaxing it, they're punching it more. They can push them into a type 1 situation, which is a type 2 turning into a type 1, which becomes a type 3. Well, now you're on insulin and you're dead without it. Now that's happened because people don't understand.
Right. And they listen to the doctor.
They know where they are. They're just going to the doctor and they're getting their pills, and that's not the way to do this. We live in a day and age where you have access to information like never before. Start studying.
And the doctors now, I mean, I'm sure it's a mix of some, wanting to put you on drugs, obviously, because there's money to be made there. I'm sure there are some like that. But to give the benefit of the doubt to good doctors out there.
Correct. And
is it some that just there's a time issue? They don't want to find out about the patient's life and see exactly how they eat and follow up. And
bro, that's a big question, because that could vary from doctor's office to doctor's office. My internist here in Texas, man, he spends 45 minutes with me every time I see him, and I see him 2 or 3 times a year just to get my blood work done and see where I'm at.
Yes.
And he's slowed down because he wasn't able to do that with his patients. He gets it. And when you have a doctor who practices what I just call both Eastern and Western medicine combined,
yes,
it's the best way to do it. There's a ton of good stuff here in America in Western medicine. It should never be dominant.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'll explain that in one simple sentence.
Cool.
You are 98.5% organic carbon-based organism. When you go and get medicines, they're 98.5% inorganic.
Wow.
So why?
Yeah. Why?
If you can avoid meds at all points and fix yourself, try to.
Yes.
You might need meds for a period of time, whatever that may be, whatever the case may be. Get off them.
Yes.
Okay. And you have to learn how to do that. And that's another video for another day. So the bottom line is the pancreas is super important. Insulin is super important. So you might as well give your pancreas a certain amount of rest. And giving your pancreas a certain amount of rest is going to do a bunch of things. You're going to control inflammation. You're going to increase insulin sensitivity. The opposite of insulin sensitivity is type 2 and type 1.
Yes.
Diabetic situation, right?
That's right.
Number 3, you free up fatty acids and you start losing body fat and you become thermogenic. You start burning body fat.
Yes.
This is a freaking no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's science. It's real science.
It's just real organ function, right? And all you're doing is eliminating an insulin spiking food.
Absolutely.
All other foods are not off limits.
Right.
And you're going to get to increase essential fats. Olive oil is not that essential. Coconut oil is definitely not essential, but it's amazing and it burns like a carbohydrate. And it's a medium chain triglyceride, but that's another video for another day. You have to have coconut oil. It's going to tell you right now, when you carb deplete, you have to have coconut oil if you're not allergic to them. You have to have olive if you're not allergic to them. You got to have fish oil if you're not allergic to fish.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome.
Use all 3.
And
so vegetables, proteins, vegetables, proteins, vegetables, proteins. It's that freaking simple.
Yes.
And eat 3 meals of those a day if you're hungry enough.
Yep.
Train your butt off like you are and do it for 72 hours.
Yes.
So let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep.
Thursday rolls around, it's carb day, man. And you figure out what are really good insulin spiking carbs for you. Is it potatoes? Is it rices? Is it pastas? Is it bread? It's definitely usually not bread. Bread's always something that's really hard for people to get off.
And I know what to look for those, but for those that are watching, how would they know what's a good insulin spiker for them? How do they know that they're getting the best one? What would you say to look out for?
That's that again, it's gut reaction after you eat. So if you're going to carb up on day 4, right? Are you still going to eat vegetables? Yeah. So now you're switching from protein to vegetable to some kind of like a gigantic baked potato with a bunch of veggies on it.
Yes.
Not smothered in cheese.
Yes, sour cream.
And some freaking sour cream and all that other bull crap. But oils, spices, oreganos, garlics, things of that nature that make it taste good. I mean, a little bit of cheese, like if you want to do like a little sprinkle, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't just like.
Yeah, it's not going to be covered.
My client did this. He goes to this place called Jason's Deli where they have these whopping football-sized freaking baked potatoes. He sends me a picture of it. You can hardly see it because it's covered in cheese.
Yeah.
I text back. I'm like, hey, numbnuts.
Yeah.
A bunch of cheese on that.
You gotta scrape that stuff off, buddy. That's
you gotta dial that back a little. So now you have carbohydrate and vegetable, colors of the rainbow, and an insulin spiking carb. Eat that, see how you feel. If it digests quick and it gives you energy like carbohydrates are supposed to, you're starting to create insulin sensitivity. You're doing that all day. So day 4, you're having maybe a chicken leg for protein. Everything else is starch and veggie.
Got it.
All day.
Yep.
Day 5, 6, and 7, you go back to balanced eating. You have your proteins, your carbs, your fats. You have your small meals like you should, smaller frequent meals all day long. And talking about smaller frequent meals, when you eat smaller, it's easier for your gut to break it down enzymatically. And if it's easier for your gut to break it down, does that not make it faster? Yes, it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speed is what kills fat.
Yes.
So when you can increase the rate of the speed of digestion, you increase metabolic rate, which increases heat, which increases fat loss.
Yes. My and I'm sure you've heard this analogy. Maybe you've told it before. My coach would always talk about picturing your metabolism like a fire, right? When you start a fire, right? It's much harder if you let that fire go out. You have to load all the wood back on, put the gasoline on.
Yeah.
It's way more work than keeping it going. And so as soon as the wood's almost out, you add some more. There's your next meal. You add some more.
Just a little bit too.
Little bit. And it goes. So for 2 hours, 3 hours, it's burning. Before the fire goes out again, you add more wood, which is another meal.
And you know what's a good spiker to that? What I mean by this, it enhances that. Once you put that wood on, it starts to kindle. Coconut oil is like taking a couple of drops of gasoline and throwing it on that fire, and it goes.
Wow.
That's what coconut oil does.
That's okay. So
incinerator.
More thermogenesis.
More thermogenesis, man. Yeah. So
awesome.
Coconut oil is a medium chain triglyceride, which is interesting because it does have saturated fat in it, but it's not as stiff as normal saturated fats in animal products.
Uh-huh.
And this is for the audience. Amazing book. It's a little wordy, but it's from Dr. Udo Erasmus, Erasmus. Fats that
took
heal.
his oils for almost all my high school and into university.
Dude's genius.
And I switched to omega-3s, but I still buy Udo's oil here and there.
Yeah, you have to, because you need 369s. He has a bunch of different ones.
Yes.
And from different sources.
Yes.
From fish or from seed and nut or from algae.
Yes.
That's right. So different oil sources. But that coconut oil really increases the metabolic rate when you're carb depleting. Coconut oil is just very antiviral, antibacterial too. It's lauric acid, LAURIC acid. Great stuff. And that book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, changed my life forever.
Wow.
I read it twice because it was so wordy. It's a tough book. But yeah, Udo Erasmus, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. And when he talks about different, omega-3s and 6s and 9s, and he talks about all these structures and everything, he basically talks about when you look at an essential fatty acid, a single molecule, some are very flexible and some are very stiff. And the ones that are stiffer play a role in the cell membrane of being stiff or not. And the ones that are more fluid play the fluidity role in the cell membrane.
Got it.
And that's huge because your cell membrane has to have certain fluidity or stiffness depending on what type of cell it is.
So, right. So
you want your bone cells to be fluid?
No.
Do you want your muscle tissues to be fluid?
Absolutely.
Tendons?
Yeah.
Ligaments? Combination of both.
Sure.
See what I mean? So it depends on structure and
Right.
cell type. And so that fluidity of the membrane is so important because it's that membrane that's not only communicating with other cells, it's communicating with your brain.
Right.
And it's telling it what to do.
Yes. Yes.
Through the nervous system. It's an amazing thing, dude.
So
go ahead.
You were saying before it changed your life, and you were obviously health conscious before this, right? So you're obviously eating and doing the best you knew how as you learned, you incorporated.
Always trial and error was just freaking huge.
Trial and
because
error.
I grew up in an age before the internet too, man.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So once the internet came out and I was already learning stuff, then I go on the internet and I go, that's BS.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's total BS.
Right.
Straight up lying to you to sell you a product.
Wow.
That's why never be careful on certain products, man. If you're looking at products, you want to buy something, then go to other sources and research what those ingredients are.
Yes.
And why they have that in there.
Right. They're right.
Literally research it ingredient by ingredient.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you'll know what that product
will go through the roof.
That's right. So before this, you're doing everything you knew how, and then you read this book, like you just said, and it changed your life. So in what sense did this open your eyes to now which oils to put in, or did you get rid of certain oils and replace them? What did you specifically?
No, at the time I just need to add oils.
Got it.
And also the temperature of cooking. So there's a thing called smoke point. So we might as well go with this before we go back to insulin.
Yeah.
Smoke point is temperature changes everything in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Cold or hot and everything in between. When you heat an oil, it's going to melt. All right, that's the melting point. Mm-hmm. The smoke point is when it actually changes configuration and burns and smokes.
Uh-huh.
So coconut oil has a higher level of temperature before it actually starts to smoke. I don't remember the degrees, but it's in the book. Okay. Olive oil's medium heat, much lower. Butter is a saturated fat. It's like medium high. Right? So these different types of fats have different structures, which means they can handle different heat.
Got it.
Some can take the heat.
Some can't.
Some can't. Omega-3s cannot stand the heat at all.
So you don't cook with those.
The manufacturing process, they don't like light and oxygen neither.
Right.
It's a super unsaturated fat called SUFA or SUFA. Yep. In the book, you're going to see MUFA, PUFA, SUFA, and SFAs. SFA is saturated fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, superunsaturated fatty acids, and PUFA, PUFA is polyunsaturated fatty acids. All those different fats have different roles. Mm-hmm. They have different rigidity, fluidity, right? So they have who can take the heat, who can't.
Got it.
Coconut oil is king.
Wow.
For the most part, I think.
So when you're making your eggs in the morning, if you're doing some eggs in the morning, it's coconut oil you're using?
Maybe a little bit. And I like to use butter.
Okay. Yep.
A little bit. Or I will use olive oil at a low heat. A little bit.
Got it. Okay.
Sometimes
and those are your cooking oils. You don't cook with any other than those. Those are your 3 cooking oils.
Yeah, those are the 3 main because you got olives, coconuts, and fish, but you don't cook with that. And you got butter, which it is a dairy, but if I do in small amounts and you're cooking it because you're changing the heat a little bit, it doesn't seem to bother me.
Yeah, me neither.
It could bother some people, so don't cook with butter, but you
Sure.
know, and forget the whole cholesterol myth, because when you start burning fat, your cholesterol is going to friggin' drop anyways.
Yes.
And cholesterol is not a fat; it's a waxy substance.
Yeah,
That's literally what it is. It's a sterol.
Yes.
Think about it. Cholesterol. It's a cola sterol.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad you hit this, because my dad, he had high cholesterol. I had to give him a lesson on this because he's not into this, to all this stuff. And he went to the doctor and they told him high cholesterol. And he's like, oh, I got to decrease my fats. I'm like, oh no. So they're thinking no more fats. Like, let's do fat-free this and fat-free that. I'm like, no.
This is an enzymatic process again.
Oh.
Should we talk about this for a second? Do you want to go?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so if it's a waxy substance, that means that if you look at wax, does it melt with heat?
Yeah.
All right. Does it solidify when it's colder?
Yes.
Okay. So when we look at the body and we look at how things are supposed to flow in the blood, like cholesterol does, cholesterol is also produced in the liver, lack of heat and lack of antioxidants and maybe some other nutrients are going to make it stiffen. The oxidative process. Oxidation is totally necessary through oxygen or we're dead.
Right.
But then the antioxidant pathways of various things in the body also have to come into play to neutralize the ravages of oxygen.
Right.
So the double-edged sword of oxygen is life and then metabolic waste, which can lead to death.
Right.
No oxygen death, with oxygen life, but too much oxidation death.
Right.
Right? Okay. So the antioxidants, what they're going to do is keep the fluidity through this process of your blood flow. How do we get blood flow? Exercise, sauna, sunshine, heat in general, smaller, more frequent meals. And what I want to touch on now with the cholesterol thing is systemic enzymes, not just digestive. So we have 3 different classifications of enzymes. And when you're dealing with cholesterol and you want to break things down in your bloodstream, you want to take certain types of enzymes on an empty stomach away from food so it doesn't act like a digestive enzyme. It acts systemically throughout the body. There's a product that is absolutely freaking awesome, and it's a company called Arthur Andrew Medical, and they make a product called Neprinol, Neprinol. It is a systemic enzyme. Had a couple clients back in California years ago. We'll just call him Johnny. And he's like, we're talking about this stuff, and I was in school at the time and learning about stuff. And he's like, my cholesterol level is like 385. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's genetic. Well, I'm like, whatever, dude. And he's, I was saying that in my head. I didn't say it to him.
Right.
He's like, what do you suggest? I say systemic enzymes. And he looks at me like, what? And I said, just take 2 of these in the morning and take another 2 in the afternoon, completely away from food.
Empty stomach.
In 30 days, he went back and got his blood work done. He was 100 points down.
And he changed nothing else.
Changed nothing else.
Wow.
Because the guy ate, like he was shredded, dude.
Jeez.
Yeah, this guy was a lean machine, but he just had a high cholesterol level because of the way his liver functioned.
Right.
So I got him on stuff for his liver, and I got him on the systemic enzymes, and his cholesterol issues just dropped.
Wow.
He goes, get me another bottle. By literally 60 days on systemic enzymes, he dropped his points 150.
Wow.
So if you go from 385 to 235, the medical standard still thinks he's a little bit high, but you dropped 150 points in 60 freaking days.
That's crazy.
That's over 2 points a day. He's burning.
Yeah. Yes.
Because his enzyme system, the enzymes he's taking in is cleaning up his blood.
Yes.
What is that going to do? You're going to urinate more and go to the bathroom more.
And he was active too, which helped. Obviously.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Training all the time.
And then you get the anti-inflammatory benefits as well, right? Because it's
massive anti-inflammatory benefits from that. Because anything oxidative that's out of control, which is called your redox balance, is going to bring inflammation. Sometimes necessary depending on the situation, but it has to be brought back down. So everything's about this whole balance thing: oxidation, antioxidation.
Yes.
Hydration, dehydration.
Awesome.
Insulin, no insulin, all of it.
So, and this explains, and now that's awesome because we touched on digestive enzymes, we touched on the insulin, how it works, touched on different types of oils, and then we touched on systemic enzymes, and that kind of is going to bring us to this piece that, kind of a personal story with this. So, I've had since high school. They said at the time. Now I know what it is. I know it's the inflammatory responses to things that my body doesn't like, that I'm allergic to, that it doesn't want.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't know. I just knew that, holy crap, when I have a big dinner, I'm on the toilet right away. And depending on what I eat, my abs are there or they're gone. Or I feel bloated or I don't. I just was always like this. So of course you go to the doctor and you can probably guess what they diagnosed me with. IBS, you have irritable bowel syndrome, they said, which is, a symptom. It's a symptom. It should be irritable bowel symptoms because
yeah, exactly. What's the cause of the symptom?
That's right. So I go there and they diagnose me with a symptom is what it is. And so I said, what do I got to do? And they said, well, you got it for life. So they treat it.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. You have it for life. Irritable bowel syndrome. You're going to have it for life unless.
Oh my God.
And he says, unless you absolutely got rid of all of the foods that are your triggers. But the reason you have this syndrome is because you have so many triggers. So you're going to hit them no matter what.
Which is a probability, but that doesn't mean you're going to hit them no matter what. Exactly.
Right. And so I was like, oh, this is it. I have life like this. And that's why I spent so many of my years not really looking into it. I was just like, okay, he said I was going to have it for life. That's just the way it is for me. So when I started competing in bodybuilding, my coach said, you have to eat these things, or you have to have the casein before bed, or whatever it is. And I was feeling these things. Instead of thinking, hey, let me find out why, I would revert back to that doctor and say, well, I got IBS. There's always an excuse, right? I got IBS. That's why. I have IBS. That's why. But then something started to click because I went to, I placed well. And the reason I placed well, it never made sense to me because I'd come in really, really shredded. My conditioning was amazing on stage. And so I would look back and I'm like, man, every single time that I'm living my life, it's a crapshoot in terms of how bloated I feel and how crappy I feel. It's a crapshoot every day. Yet the last month before I step on stage, I am regular when I go to the washroom. I don't have weird bowel problems. I'm not bloated. So, and that trend happened every time. Every time. It was never.
What did you deduce from that? What was
so then I took from that and I said, it's obviously the foods I'm having those last 4 weeks are not trigger foods. And guess what I was eating? Everything that we just talked about today. That's why it ties it up. I was eating nothing synthetic, no extra additives. I was having nothing that was corn based. I was having nothing that was wheat based. I went into it was literally a little bit of sweet potato, chicken, white fish, right? The very bland stuff, maybe a little bit of hot sauce that didn't bother me. At one point I thought maybe the hot sauce is triggering my washroom breaks. Nope, wasn't the hot sauce, right? Not the hot sauce. And essentially you switch on, all the whey drinks were gone. It was all food-based proteins, no dairy in there, and very high fats, all the good fats. And boom, magically, no bloating. I got shredded up. And not only that, my clarity, like the clarity in my brain, because most people, I was used to seeing people competing and they're getting close to the stage, like, I can't think right. I'm all fuzzy because they're tired, right? They're low carb. I'm all tired. Meanwhile, I feel the best I've ever felt.
Yeah, just like you got to learn how to deplete, man. And like when the last time I got lean, when we talked about this, I got down to 4.7. Yeah. I was 46 years old when I did it.
Wow.
And I went from 10% to 4.7 in about 7 weeks, a little bit less.
Wow.
Because, well, there's muscle memory involved. I know what to do. Sure. I planned it all out. I mean, it's just like boom, boom, boom. It's like breathing,
Yeah.
And when you learn the lifestyle, you're going to learn health. But you got to learn the lifestyle. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to hear, but you're going to eat every day anyways.
Yeah.
So you might as well freaking change what you're eating.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you did that and you look at the protein vegetable thing, and I bet Colors of the Rainbow at the time wasn't, I don't know how much you did of that, but you might not have even been doing that.
Well, and this is why a question I was going to ask you after, because you say Colors of the Rainbow, and I've heard that. And my coach, I haven't competed since 2014. And he's always learning too. So I'm not sure if he's changed that aspect, but his whole thing when we were dieting down that much was unlimited veggies, but they must be green. He wanted only green veggies because he said there's sugar content in the colors at the time. At the time, right? No. And now you've heard that though, I'm assuming.
You can't get fat on red bell peppers.
That's what I always thought too. When you say that to me, I'm like, I don't think I'm
on radishes.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What else is of other color?
Tomatoes, maybe tomatoes, but I mean, I guess.
Yeah, tomatoes are fine, but I can't eat them anymore.
Yeah, they cause. I get acid reflux.
Yeah, they bother me, man.
Yeah, I get.
I'm wondering if that's because it's actually a fruit.
Yes, and it's acidic.
The acidity and just the enzyme breakdown. It might be like as we get older, tomatoes are like dairy, or they're genetically modified.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got your celeries you could have.
Yes.
Squash. What color is that? Orange or red?
Right. True.
Eggplant. Purple.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
No insulin spike sugars.
Nobody's getting fat off that.
They're different sugars that will spike insulin and other sugars that will not.
Right.
There's massive sugars in mushrooms. We call them magic mushrooms in the naturopathic industry because they have incredible immune system properties to them, but they don't spike insulin.
Wow.
You can't get fat eating mushrooms.
No, it's true. Yeah, exactly. And they're not green.
Yeah, exactly. They're not green. They're all kinds of colors, actually.
Yeah.
There's some that are a little crazy.
Yeah.
Stay away from them.
Yeah.
So
now, I'm not sure if he did that because of actually seeing those results, or maybe reading the science behind it. He's thinking, we got to manage those sugars. If these have high sugars, let's not mess around with it. That's probably what his thinking process was.
Yeah, I heard carrots were the same way, and the carrots are not. When you juice
right.
When you juice anything, the sugar content goes up. But when you eat carrots, man, I eat carrots like those blue in the face.
Awesome. See,
or orange in the face. What do you want to call it? Yeah, they're not.
And now what I'm going to do when I diet down starting in May, it is May actually already, but starting next week, I'm really looking to diet down, shred up, see what I can do again at 38. And I'm going to add in the colored veggies when I'm on this for sure.
Do it. And you know what else too is there's various ways to cook them. And so the ease of digestion also has to do with hardness and rigidity of food. Mm-hmm. Like I would eat raw broccoli all day if I could because it's so good for me, but my body can't break it down. So I steam it, saute it. I don't like to microwave my food too much, hardly at all, because that just destroys the DNA structure of it. But frozen organic, right? Broccoli, cauliflower, the cruciferous vegetables, which are good estrogen inhibitors, by the way. Mm-hmm. I'll boil them. I'll literally put hot, filtered water in a pan, crank up the heat, throw in the veggies of various colors, blast it on high, and put a timer on for 10 minutes. By the time that 10 minutes is up, they're softer. There's a little bit of crunch to them, and I eat them that way. And people are like, well, you're going to lose some nutrition on that. I go, that's fine if I lose some nutrition on that because I'm going to make it up in other vegetables, but it's going to save my gut. And that's much more important than just losing a little bit of nutrition on steaming or boiling my vegetables.
Because if you get that inflammatory response.
Plus, I juice anyways, and you can't get raw or more electron high content when you juice.
Right.
You take 5 different nutrients, you juice them, drink that glass, and slam it down. That's instant sun energy, man.
That's amazing. Yeah, you do that daily? This is daily for you?
No, I go through seasons of it. I cycle everything. I cycle all my supplements. I change up my foods. I don't like to eat the same protein twice in a row.
Yep.
Like chicken, beef, turkey, egg, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes I'll just have a carbohydrate meal.
Yep.
Or I'll have a depletion meal.
Yep.
Or if we talk about this system that we're on, 3 days no carb day, and then 3 days a regular day, you vary things up.
So the carb cycling thing.
The carb cycling thing, yeah. So, but here's the thing about the carb cycling thing, and this is for people that are getting ready for their show. When you really dial in massive colors of the rainbow and lean proteins for those first 3 days, and on day 4, when you carb up and you know what carbs really work for you, and those next 3 days, once you get those four days out of the way, the next 3 days, you're going to have a good plan of attack of smaller, more frequent meals. You're going to watch how easy it is to lose body fat. You don't have to count your calories. Just train your freaking brains out and just keep cycling every single week. Watch where your body fat levels go. They just drop all by themselves.
Wow.
It got to the point, and I was doing sprints out on the trail, and this was it was June, July, about mid-June, all the way through July, first week of August, blazing hot in Texas.
Yeah.
But there was some shade, but I was still sprinting and out there getting a good sweat on, but I wasn't overheating because I was still in the shade and I had wind coming against me because I'm on my bike.
Yep.
There's other types of training involved, but I could just feel the heat of my body go up.
Wow.
What the body loses when you get older is you don't know how to trigger heat.
Yes.
You do it with food.
Right.
And you do it with insulin spiking foods.
Right.
You use them and you take them away. You use them and you take them away. or you jump in a sauna, or you get in the sunshine and get some vitamin D3 going, and you,
Sure.
all right.
Yep.
And we also lose that sense of thirst.
Yes.
So we
That's
don't
right.
know how to make heat. We don't even think about it. When
No.
the key to health is flow, and heat makes things flow, it's energy, and hydration and water. Everything runs through water, hydrogen and oxygen. You need all of that. So when we deplete, and the next time you do this, man, make sure you get colorful, colors of the rainbow. Saute some stuff, boil some veggies if you want. If you can eat them raw, eat them raw. And then I will suggest some enzymes from you that my school suggested, my naturopathic school.
Awesome.
And they're in Lake Oswego, Oregon. Enzyme nutritional research.
Okay.
Enzyme research products.
Okay.
I get a lot of the companies mixed up. Enzyme research products. Yeah. And
ERP?
get some of their just standard, regular digestive enzymes. Throw down 3 or 4 with every meal. Watch, dude.
Wow.
All my clients love it.
Amazing.
As a matter of fact, outside the Nepronol and some of the other systemic stuff that I've suggested for clients, this is the one enzyme product out of everyone that I've suggested over the last 15, 18 years. They're like, do you have any more of those enzymes?
Wow.
All the time, 100% of the time.
Wow.
And that's rare. And enzymes, I'm telling you, people right now, as we age, aging is an enzyme depletion process. You're rusting out.
Yes.
Because the enzyme systems in the body that we run on with oxygen are failing.
Yes.
You're aging in a carbon-based body.
Yeah.
It's all enzyme related.
Wow.
And that's how it works, man. Gut, digestion, lyasing, right foods, controlling insulin, losing body fat, controlling inflammation. That's health.
That is health. That is everything.
Health.
And the thing is, people don't get that. I mean, we're talking about this, and it doesn't just apply to losing fat or, feeling good. It's if you control these processes, disease processes don't have an ability to begin and start. That's because it all comes from those years of doing the bad things and having these inflammatory responses. Your body starts short-circuiting.
And for the most part, again, oxidation, inflammation, antioxidation, anti-inflammation. They're both necessary, but how do you balance it out and control it?
Exactly.
So life is a process of controlling inflammation.
Yes.
Health is a process of controlling inflammation.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, you don't do it with Advil all the time.
No. No.
You do it with your foods, but sometimes people need Advil. That's fine.
Sure.
But just don't dose on it. I used to dose on it and ruin my gut years ago.
Me too. I was in the same boat because I was training so hard and in bodybuilding at the time. I not only did I not know about the diet properly, I didn't know enough about the diet because I didn't have a coach yet. I was also not training properly. I was overtraining. I was thinking more is better and all that.
Yeah, that too. But also you're probably, since you weren't eating the right stuff, not only are you inflaming in the gym, you're inflaming at the food plate.
You got it.
And so you're double inflaming and you're not counteracting anything. So there's no balance. And when there's no balance.
No, I never felt good. I always felt bloated. And it was way more than delayed onset muscle soreness. It was way more than DOMS. I felt like an 80-year-old man getting out of bed.
And it was probably DOMS as well.
And probably that too, yeah. But it was so easy. It was so easy to pop an Advil. I'm like, oh, I feel great now. Let's go to the gym and do it again. Like, oh, and you're right. It messed up my gut even worse. So I had to go through a whole protocol to get my gut flora back in check.
Exactly. So there you go. And dealing with insulin is going to be so key because that's one of the ways to deal with body fat. And I've seen video after video, and you should see some of the comments on my video on that, dude. Insulin, one guy's like, he just goes, insulin doesn't make you fat, ! And I'm like, I didn't even respond to him, man. I looked at his videos and I looked at his video and I'm like, stop. Okay. Yeah. Some people have a higher tolerance level. I get that. Sure. They just enzymatically are just incredible with sugars,
Yes.
Most people are not.
No, exactly.
And swath of genetic human metabolism, they're just not. How do you think science even came up with this? You know what I think came up with it? Famine. When famine hit the land and people couldn't eat as much, they're like, oh, I'm shredded. And it wasn't just the lack of calories.
Right.
The fact that they couldn't have their potatoes.
Right.
And their wheats.
Yes.
But they could go freaking slaughter an animal and eat that freaking puppy.
Yep.
Right? That's right. Just eat protein.
Grow some veggies.
Body fat.
Grow some veggies. They could grow some veggies.
A little bit of fruit, man. That doesn't smell much. Whatever.
Right.
And I think that's how it started. I'm sure there's books out there on that, and I'm only speculating, but whatever. I mean, somehow, some way, someone started messing with protein, carb, and fat ratios, and they realized that when I get rid of carbs, I get ripped. There was
That's
a big high carb fad in the 80s
Oh, wow.
where the
Really?
vegetarianism thing came in.
Oh, really?
What's interesting about that is you have to look at it kind of two or threefold. One is some people that are genetically capable of handling more carbohydrate.
Yep.
Two, if you're in your 20s, who gives a rip?
Yeah, that's
I eat
right.
anything in my 20s and I was shredded.
Right,
I would
exactly.
eat bags of pasta and be like, ah.
Yeah,
I eat a
vascular
bag
and
of pasta now. I'm like,
yeah, good night. Yeah, same.
because it's not working right.
No,
It's not
that's right.
digesting right. And it's
That's
wheat.
right. Yes.
You know, even gluten-free pastas, I still eat a small amount. I'm good. So
Yeah.
what we're talking about today is controlling insulin. So we're gonna create the body's ability to really utilize insulin correctly.
Yes.
Which means you're really going to utilize glucose and carbohydrates correctly from the digestive point into the bloodstream and into your muscle tissues.
Right. Awesome.
And when you do that, you're basically just destroying type 1, type 2 diabetic situation because you're creating insulin sensitivity. And the easiest analogy for that on this whole video is this. Your tissues need to be hydrated, not only with water, but obviously insulin's a hydrator. And glucose plays a role in that. Okay, the splitting of water and ATP and all this stuff. So if you take a dry sponge and you've depleted and you put it under the water, you see how it swells? Well, that's like when you load correctly, you'll feel your muscles do that, especially when you've been breaking them down and they need some glycogen and you've been depleting. When you load, you swell. You're like, and you get leaner.
Yes.
Because your energy, your thermogenesis goes up because you created insulin sensitivity, and because it's a fast burner, it increases your metabolic rate.
Yes.
People that take in too much carbohydrate too often, they slow your metabolic rate.
Right.
But when you cycle it, you increase it.
Yes.
So when you take the dry sponge, which is your muscle tissue, to the water, which is insulin, it fills out.
Yes.
But if you hold that sponge under the water for too long, what happens?
It starts spilling over.
Spilling over. What does spillover do?
Turns to fat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how simple this is.
Yeah. Well, we should have taken that clip of what you just said, and that'll be the reply to that guy's comment.
I probably did. Because I've also done videos where you're just pouring water into like a cup and I go, here's your insulin, here's your body's ability to store carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And you keep pouring until it spills over. I mean, you're taking too much carb, you're spilling over.
Well,
another analogy.
And for me, my favorite thing when people ask, what's your favorite thing about competing? Because I was never even in high school. I wasn't that guy with the bodybuilders inside my locker. I never even pictured myself being on a stage. The reason I did it was because I put in so much work. I'm like, this can't go to waste. I want to see how far I can go.
Let's see what I can do. Yeah.
Let's see what I can do. So I was a little different in the sense that I wasn't trying to be a pro bodybuilder. I was just trying to put my hard work on display. And so people ask me, what's your favorite part about the process, about competing? And my favorite part comes down to one day, and it's the day before competition. That day, I look forward to that day more than competing, more than finishing, more than the thought of holding up a trophy. And it's because of that carb loading last meal that I have, because I've been beating down my muscles like crazy. And then that last meal that I have the night before, it's the steak, baked potato, not with all the garbage on there. Like you said, just a little bit of cheese. My coach always puts a small little bit of red wine and a small little slice of cheesecake I can have. But as soon as I have that, like you said, my shirt gets tighter, my veins go crazy. And
you're leaner,
and I get a little sweat. And you're right. My abs are deeper. My cuts are deeper. And I'm just like, I'm looking better and better. And by the hour, like the 1 hour mark after eating, and then the 2 hour mark after eating, I just keep getting better and better. And then you go to bed and you wake up in the morning on show day and you're like, did a miracle happen? What happened?
Yeah. That's the way carbs are supposed to work.
Yeah.
Especially in a weight resistance, athletically trained muscle.
Yes.
It has the ability to store more energy.
Yeah.
Because also it has the ability to increase sarcomere size and muscle size. So the tank is bigger.
Right.
Each individual muscle is an energy tank. Your thighs, your tries, your liver, it also stores glycogen, carb. So when you created that sensitivity, you dehydrated the sponge and then you rehydrated it. And where you hold water is completely different.
Yes.
When you're not insulin sensitive, you're going to hold water and fat under the skin more than you would if you're insulin sensitive.
Exactly. Yep.
And this is like the crux of so much health. You'd be freaking amazed. Yeah. Now, I'm absolutely need God's blessing on the earth for people that invented the hormone of insulin, because people would die without it.
Yeah.
But learning how to,
You know where that was, by the way? Off the top of your head, do you know where that was? The invention of it? No? I'm in London. I'm in London, Ontario, Canada.
That's where they invented it?
It was invented here by doctors.
I had no idea.
Pre-diabetes. What are the chances in London, Ontario? Here,
that's freaking awesome.
Isn't that nuts? So I just have to know because it's London.
I got to tell you, man, stuff I hear in Canada, stuff you probably hear about the States. I mean, Canada is super health conscious.
Very.
I look at Instagram posts all the time. It's a bunch of Canadian stuff. I remember the first time I got into essential fatty acids was Omega Nutrition in Canada.
Oh yeah, Omega.
Them and Carlson started the whole dang Omega-3 thing.
Yeah, just exploded. Yep. Very health conscious here. Yeah, I see a lot here, a lot in Australia too. I see a lot of Australians.
Australians getting big too, but just because I'm so much closer to Canada, I hear a lot about a lot of Canadian stuff, and I get stuff that, with all this AI technology and advertising stuff. I click on something, all of a sudden I just get inundated. Like that's what I'm telling you right now. You know how many emails we're going to get on all this stuff we talked about right now?
Oh man, it's going to be making a separate video on this.
Shit that I never even looked up, right?
Yeah.
These communists that are listening to us.
That's right. That's exactly it. I guess before we go, I'm going to ask one more piece because it connects to this. And I wanted to ask you last time and I didn't. And now that we hit on all these, this is a perfect time. So we talked about, obviously, a big portion of this was insulin, which is a big factor in our health, obviously, and so I've never done carb cycling. I'm going to this time around. I'm going to try the carb cycling because I know that I respond very well when I'm managing my insulin. So I want to try the carb cycling aspect as opposed to the traditional, which is really basically keeping carbs steadily low
for an extended period of time.
That's what I've always done, and it works great. But I'm not competing this time. If I was competing, I wouldn't want to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say, right? So I wouldn't want to mess with it. But I'm not competing. I'm just trying to shred down. So I'm going to do the carb cycling method this time. However, I do want to ask about this one, which some people call a fad. Other people don't call a fad. I've done it once and it worked for me. Intermittent fasting.
It's awesome. Why?
I know why, but some people might.
Okay, so you're giving your body a timing or hourly break from digestion, from enzyme processes. Okay. So people need to understand this too. The first time that you initiate an enzyme system after you wake up is when you start the clock in intermittent fasting. So let's say you want to eat from 11 to 8 or 11 to 7, whatever the hours are, 8 hours. So 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You're only going to eat during that time. But if you get up at 9 o'clock and have a cup of coffee, you already messed it up because it takes enzymes to break down the coffee. So you already started the clock at 9 a.m. The only thing that's not going to trigger enzymes is water.
Water only.
Got
it.
That's why they water fast.
A big mistake with intermittent people that maybe didn't get the results proper from intermittent fasting is this thing. They don't
know that when they're triggering enzymes and when they're not. So water only, no enzymes. Okay.
Got it.
That's all gut stuff. So your first meal, your first supplement, if you get up and throw down a couple capsules of creatine, just because for recovery purposes, you initiated enzyme systems.
Wow. Yeah.
If you got up and throw down a capsule of CoQ10, you've initiated enzyme systems.
Wow.
You see what I mean?
So vitamins, minerals,
nothing. Water.
Got it.
So that's true intermittent fasting. Now you can pick your hours, whatever you want. You're going to try to fluctuate and see what works best for you.
Sure.
But if you're the person who's hungry right when you get up, freaking eat.
Right.
If it's 7 a.m., then your clock is 7 a.m. to how many hours you're going to go?
Right.
4, 7 p.m., 12 hours, whatever it is.
Yep.
Look, there's a lot of great scientists out there. There's a lot of information out there. And we could, man, dude, we should just do this like weekly because we could talk about stuff for freaking hours.
I was already thinking this too because there's so many topics. Like you could take multiple pieces of today and make a full thing out of it.
You can make lectures on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but so what I'm trying to say is, look, people kind of take what they heard today and learn how to implement it into their own schedule and lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay. I'm hoping I get a bunch of emails on this. I hope you do, and we'll answer those questions accordingly.
Sure.
In terms of some supplementation that's been mentioned, and dietary considerations, cooking instructions, things like that, and just see what we can do to help coach people up and give them the information that they need. But again, they have to take it with a grain of salt. Everything we mentioned today works.
Yes.
How they implement it
Exactly.
is on them.
It's on them.
But I'm telling you right now, when you try this and you cycle and you load on the 4th day and you eat balanced for the next 3, and then you deplete again the next 3 days, same days every week.
Yep.
You're gonna be like, oh my gosh.
Game changer.
Should have done this for all my shows. So
Yes.
think about this. You're 8 to 10 weeks out from the show. Okay. The show is on a Saturday. I would have your carb day be a Friday or even that Thursday, and a little more carb on that Friday, because by the time all that depletion and loading that you've done for that 9 to 10 weeks up to that Saturday show, you could deplete every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, load on Thursday, and even have more on Friday, and wake up Saturday morning and you're like, I'm going to crush this thing.
I'm so glad you said that, because my coach said, at the time, again, I haven't competed since 2014 at North America. It's actually in Pittsburgh in the US. And I asked him, he said, no, it has to be on that Friday. And I'm thinking, then how come I always look my best on Sunday, Monday after a show?
Because you didn't load enough.
Right. I didn't load enough. And even though I did get the volumization, even though I did get that piece,
there was more.
Right. And he always says, and his answer is, I get that. And that's great that you didn't spill over, but I didn't want to risk you spilling over. But I'm thinking, how many shows do I got to do where I don't spill over by Monday?
So here's the thing. This is
right?
This is the beauty of this system, man. And I learned this in the 80s, and nothing's changed, pro carbon fat, right?
Right.
You're going to realize how you look throughout those other weeks on a Saturday.
Yes, exactly. That's right. That's right.
And I think the only thing that you would I think the only thing you would change carbohydrate wise is preparation wise before that Saturday show. Like you'd eat a baked potato, just freaking plain.
Yeah.
Dry.
It. Yeah.
Rice, dry.
Yeah.
Maybe not even salt and pepper, man. Maybe a little bit of oils.
Okay.
No cheese, like dry.
Yes.
And watch how your body loads on that.
Wow.
And you've never taken enzymes before, and take enzymes with your meals. Watch.
Yeah. Big game. Like I've done it, but not consistently over time to really measure that. Yeah. See how it works.
Yeah.
And I like that, because the carbs, like you said, the carb cycling, I can mess with it. One day I could try, when I'm carb cycling, I could try the dry stuff. Another day, play with the types of carbs.
Oatmeal's a wet carb. Yeah.
Right.
What about sweet tarts?
Yes. Right.
Throw down three sweet tarts. They're freaking dry.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny
how that feels.
Everybody's everybody's got their own kind of play on what works for them. But I mean, when I was in Pittsburgh, and even the year before when it was here in Canada, I saw that, I won my weight class. I didn't go and win the overall because I'm a small weight class. So chances of us winning are pretty slim.
What did you win?
When I competed, I was bantamweight. I couldn't do that anymore, but that was 143.
Oh shoot, man. That's
I know. Yeah. But you know what? I was decreasing 12 pounds of water. I was shedding 12 pounds of water. Get this, in 26 hours to make that. That's why I knew if I make this weight, nobody can beat me. And I did it okay. I wasn't like,
wow, that's a lot.
So I hold a lot of water, I guess, but and I'm short. And I'm short. I'm really, really short, And so it's funny because people would come to my weigh-in and they'd be like, that I was competing against, right? And they were coming to watch to see if I made weight. Because they're like, damn, if this guy makes weight, he's gonna beat us, right? And for me, I'm
because then you can load after and gain weight after, correct?
Yeah. Boom. And I'm so short, my muscle bellies really blow up if I do that right. So
yeah, now, it's such an illusion. I love being short. That's one thing I like being short.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so much bigger than you really are.
Well, yeah. And I had people like at Pittsburgh, I had one guy came right up to me. He was watching. I'm like, and I noticed he was kind of following behind me with his girlfriend or his wife. And I'm like, what's this guy doing? It's like, it was creeping me out. And I get on the scale, come back and goes, did you make weight? And I said, yeah. And he's like, shit, you won. And that's he did one of those. Nice. And I said, who knows? My posing could be crap. You never know.
You never know.
Right. But I was able to do that, and I was very successful because, of course, I'm not going to undermine my hard work. I put in the hard work, but that was a big piece, was being able to make that weight. I can't do that again. If I ever competed, I'm definitely past that. I could never make 143.
Well, you were younger. You're now in a muscle maturity. You're in your 30s, right?
It's totally
so now that you're in your 30s, man, 30s and 40s were just crushing.
Yeah. I'm turning 38. It's a different thing.
You're so much more experienced. You're strong as crap. You could train half as much and get the same results because the muscle is great. Plus, you just know what you're doing. When you
Right.
do this cycling, dude, I'm telling you,
I
you
can't
don't
wait.
have to worry about water.
I can't wait. I
You
can't
don't
wait.
have to.
That's awesome. That's
You
awesome.
just froze up for a second. You can still hear me, right?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Oh yeah, I see that I'm frozen. Oh. See.
I don't know.
There we go. Am I back? Okay. Yeah, no, I heard you. You didn't freeze. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be one of those things. And I noticed when I was competing, and again, I'm going back to Pittsburgh because it was the last one I did. And I knew some of the guys that I was up against, that I was competing against. I'd done 2013 in Pittsburgh and finished third. And I said, at that time, I said, this is the last time I compete. But I finished third, knowing I could have got first, but my posing was awful. So I said, I can't live with this. I'm coming back next year. And so the people I met there that beat me, I saw them on social media, and I had to really put on my blinders. And my coach said, don't look at them because they're carb cycling. So it's going to be an illusion. It's going to mess with your brain, because I wasn't carb cycling. So I was flat. And they, of course, were posting pictures on their Instagram on their carb loading day. And so I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like double my size. How's he going to make weight? And then I showed up and I was able to pull it off. Right. So that's the first time where I was like, man, this carb cycling thing is something I should really look into.
Well, this is the thing, dude, is that like all the expos I've ever gone to, right? Everybody's got the greatest product and all that stuff. And I love entrepreneurship and I love freaking capitalism.
Sure.
You know, everybody's got the greatest product. And the industry, unfortunately, because of the age of information we live in, is a lot of the myths and a lot of the stuff about, you know, selling a product.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready for this, everybody, there's always shows going on there. Everybody's like, I'm just so hungry. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you hungry? Yeah. And first of all, you should be hungry because you're training your butt off.
Right.
Eat it.
Yes.
And everybody is so calorie conscious because of this college manipulated, you know, wisdom textbook stuff out there that everything's calorie based, and it's a half truth.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not a full truth.
No.
Because when you manipulate ratios and you manipulate insulin, calories don't play a role like they used to.
Exactly. That's right.
And that's what people don't get.
They don't get it. And hopefully watching this.
Powerful, man.
Exactly.
And they don't get it. The insulin is so powerful that without it, you're dead.
Yeah. 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 Literally.
Exactly. Now, growth hormone and testosterone are really, really powerful as well. But you can get by when it's really low. You're not dead. Right. You just feel like
exactly. That's what we should talk about next time. Is those?
We'll talk about all that stuff. We have so much to talk about. It's just
no. This is awesome. No, we got it. We'll talk about how we'll see what the feedback's like. And usually what happens with these sorts of things, the people end up steering our topics because they start saying, hey, I want to learn more about this and more about that. So we'll see.
That's fine.
What people want to hear.
Yeah, I'm going to post this all over the place. I'll send you the link as soon as it's done. I'll upload it. I'll put it on my computer, do a little craziness, do a little editing, and then I'm going to blast it everywhere. Where are you going to put it?
Well, I'm going to be starting a YouTube channel. So it'll probably be my first video. So I'll put it up here too, so we can kind of get more exposure as well. But you'll have more exposure than me because you got followers already. But something that I want to start up because I like to be talking to and interviewing people that really know their stuff inside out. And I like to, for me, I've had a lot of experience because I've competed at high levels. And at the same time, I've formulated supplements for top brands like you have over time. And I've worked for brands. I've worked on the marketing side. I've worked for
so cool, man.
I've worked for overhyped brands.
We're like living parallel lives and we don't even know each other.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so I've done all those things. I look into the studies related to supplements. I do what you say. I've been doing that for years, where a supplement says it helps with this, and this. And I say, okay, well, let's just see exactly what it helps with. You get those ingredients and just search each ingredient. And for those of you that are out there that are thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to go look at all the studies. I'm not even asking you to go that far. Just look up the ingredient, see where it comes from. Is it come from a natural source? Has it been used for a long period of time? Yeah. And what's Google saying about it? Even if it's Wikipedia, get a few points and understand what you're putting in your body. Don't just go by what they put on the front of that label. Because some of these ingredients you shouldn't be bringing into your body, and sometimes you can get a better supplement anyway out there. So, but
hopefully we can kind of mitigate that for them too, and kind of give them a more precise choice of from experience what works. And I'll tell you what works. Companies that have lasted, means their products work and people come back and buy them.
That's right. Exactly.
Companies that come and go because their product sucks, or
right.
they just got unfortunate and they didn't have enough money to keep going and their marketing wasn't good or whatever. But for the most part, companies that sustain, people are repeat buying.
Exactly. And I see some of them out there, and we'll get into them on a different one, some brands that we'll actually name too. But some of them, they don't have the crazy marketing. They have basic labels. They're not anything to write home about, but why are they still in business after all these years? Because people are getting good results on their products because they've done the research. They got the right stuff in there. So
there's something to it.
Don't just go by pretty label. There's a lot of good stuff out there that don't have a pretty label that make you feel pretty.
You know what's funny? Long time ago when I first got into this, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Pretty label. Wow. This must be good.
Yeah.
That's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like, it's that young thing. It's the shiny thing. Oh, look at these guys. They put all their stuff in a, and this cool colored bin or tin, Dude,
I was so obsessed with this stuff. It was just scary, man.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some obsessions that will breed some good habits, which is great, but I had to learn some balance over time.
Yeah. Same. I'm in the same boat. It's literally very similar lives that we've lived that way. But what I like about this dynamic is you have all the schooling behind it, whereas I went to school to be a school teacher originally. And so, so I have geography and religion are my teachables. And what I learned in this space, I learned out of my own passion inside. So, and you had both. You had the passion inside plus the schooling. So it's really cool because we have the life experiences, but then we have the schooling part too. So I love this sort of thing because this isn't a podcast where we're just teaching other people. Like I'm learning here as well. So
me too, dude. I never stop. I start talking about stuff and sometimes I'll get revelation of something I forgot.
Yeah.
That can be used in this topic I'm talking about at the time. And it's a whole new twist, but it's all truthful. It's all scientifically based and it's really, really cool.
It's awesome. And now like even your fats, like the books you're talking about, like I made note now I got a book list I gotta get caught up.
I haven't talked about cell rigidity and cell membrane stuff in years. That just came out. It's just it's the way it rolled, I mean, it's out like stuff that I just, wow, okay, I remember that now from years of just reading and applying things, It's cool.
I love it.
Stuff,
I love it. Well, anything like that if something pops into your mind, you think it'd be helpful for me, especially now knowing that I'm going to be doing the carb cycling starting next week. May 7th is when I start my dieting, like my strict dieting and training. So anything you think of, just email it over to me because I'll check it out. I'm a knowledge sponge. So
the 7th is you're going to start. Friday is going to be your first depletion day.
Friday is going to be my very first depletion day. That's right.
So you're going to deplete Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yes, sir. I'm crazy.
I was going to say, you're not going to carb up on the weekends? What's up with that?
Yeah, no, I'm only going to do that this way because it forces me to two things. It forces me to take this super, super serious and not let myself go too much because on the weekend is when people want to have fun. And two, I with my work, we're super busy during the week. So I have to train on the weekends. Absolutely have to be in the gym on the weekends. Yeah, so it just made sense to treat it like that for me.
And it's also good to train while you're depleting because you're going to deplete even more.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So that's why I'm setting it up that way. But
and then you look forward to Mondays, which a lot of people don't because you're carving up.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. So I'm kind of playing that mind game. I've been through this enough that I think this is going to be the best mix for me.
Golden. All right, bro. It was great, dude. This is great. Let's do this all the time.
Thank you. Done deal. Thank you, sir. Have yourself a good weekend. Okay.
Bless you, bud.
Cheers. Later.